gentlemen, welcome to the show. Glad to have you guys here on this. Today is the 24th of Wednesday of 24th of April 2024. Thank you for tuning in. Oh man, it's getting some apocalyptic out there. There's some really weird stuff happening. And a lot of it's going unnoticed. The four horsemen of the apocalypse. The four horses of the apocalypse, I should say. I've got that on here this morning. It's actually in the news. But most people aren't recognizing it for that. But I just say, hey, I see the white horse. I see the black horse. It just reminds me of something. I'm going to show that to you. And plus, the sky is turning orange. See this man? He's walking his way down a hill in Athens on Tuesday. And look at the color of the sky. Other pictures of it. The supposed cause is dust clouds from Africa, from the Saharan desert blowing over. But, this is apocalyptic. Look at that sky. Then, where was it I wanted to show you? Was it here? No. I gotta get to the story here. Here, this story right here. The four horsemen, the four horses, I should say. This is just striking. Look. A white horse and a pale horse. And the pale horse has got blood all over it. And there was four horses riding through London, of all places, right through the city. He says he was screaming in pain. Four people injured after a blood-covered white horse and four horses were riding through London. At least 4 people were injured and rushed to the hospital after a group of military horses, some which were covered in blood, bolted through the streets of London in a wild frenzy. A group of military horses run amok in London after getting loose during a routine exercise, they say. But it's just so, to me, it's just so poignant. It's, from what I understand, there's 4 of them too, 4 horses, and that white horse covered with blood. This is the apocalypse, guys. As far as I'm concerned, the stuff that's been happening, for a while now, has been quote-unquote apocalyptic. And, of course, the war part of all of this. I'll use an analogy to help you understand what's going on with the war part of it right now. You guys ever come down with a stomach flu? And you know that part of the stomach flu where you're starting to get nauseous? You get this nausea, it comes. But then it goes away and you feel better and you say, oh, okay, I'm going to be okay, And then the nausea comes back a few minutes later and it's worse than it was the first time. And then it goes away again. And then it comes back again, even worse. That'll keep going and the nausea will keep getting worse and worse until you vomit. Now, maybe this isn't the best illustration, but it helps to explain what's going on with this war situation. Right now, we're in the period where the nausea settled down just a little bit. Like the war situation. Just a few days ago, it was heating up. It was really getting ready. And this is going to keep going and getting worse and worse until it vomits, basically. In other words, until it erupts into some sort of full-blown war situation or war scenario. Then probably the shock and awe of it all, because they might even use, these super powerful weapons, I'll call them. They may be. I don't know. But it's probably at that point when the world is full of shock and awe is the most likely time that they're going to come along. They're going to say, hey, you know what are we doing? And some sort of little peace deal will come along then. Big peace deal. Big peace deal. But that ain't going to solve the problem in the world. If they bring out a peace deal like that, behind the scenes, they're vying for control. The big powers right now. and its control over the monetary theater. Who is going to be the big mucky muck when it comes to monetary, you know? And now, so we're going to see this escalation continue until it finally draws to a conclusion, maybe a number of years from now, where a new control mechanism is established in the world. This is what they're fighting over. Who's going to have control? Will it be the West? Will it be the hegemony of the United States US dollar reigning supreme in the world's monetary system? Will it be the East? Will it be Russia and China forming some sort of new monetary alliance and having the control? Who's it going to be? And this is what they're really, what's coming to a head. It ain't going to go away, and it's going to surge, and that's what's happening. It's surging forth, and then it's backing away a little bit, and then surging forth. And we're in the period right now where nothing happened in Iran and Israel that could have broke into a regional war. It kind of surged back a little bit right now. It's kind of holding back just a little bit. But no mistake, I believe that we're in the apocalypse right now of some sort or another. This is apocalyptic what's happening. If you take a look at the overall picture, the bigger picture, combining it all together, the weather-related problems, the disease-related problems, just the whole picture. If you got the whole picture, and of course you guys watching my show here, you guys probably got a much better idea and know more what I'm talking about. If people just tuned in here, they would be like, hey, you know, what's he talking about? They're so out of it, they don't know. They think everything's just like it always has been. No, sir. No, sir. This is beyond unusual, beyond strange, what's happening right now. And look, Ukraine's at it again. They keep poking the bear with the stick. They've just blown up, I guess, another Russian oil facility. Huge fire breaks out at Russian oil facility. A huge fire has broken out at a facility in Russia after an attack by Ukrainian drones, sources say. Drones hit 2 facilities in the Smolak region. Awful hard. Smolensk. It's hard to pronounce. I mean, what do you expect? Smollensk. Pronounce that. You guys, anyway. Iranian president threatens Israel's annihilation if a major attack occurs. How could they annihilate Israel? They've been talking about nuclear weapons, Iran. They're saying they're going to review their nuclear doctrine or whatever. Maybe I didn't state that quite right. After this latest incident, you know, how much resource do they have to build nuclear weapons, and is the West willing to let them have one, and whatever? This whole thing is just it's a smoldering keg of gunpowder. Seriously. Now, but it's backed off right now, just for a little bit. I think it's going to heat back up again. I think it's coming back in spades when it comes back, you know, this situation. Now, there's reports that they're calling it horrified. They're finding, I guess, mass graves in Gaza. A UN human rights chief calls for independent and transparent inquiry after Palestinian authorities uncover hundreds of bodies at the hospital in a mass grave. Isn't that something? This world is just so... wow. And the Chinese are going for the gold. Now, China and Russia and the countries of the East, all along, This gold is the thing that they've been storing it away, and they've been putting their faith in gold. Well, the West, we put our faith in Bitcoin. Over here, we empty our vaults at Fort Knox. We don't need this. Canada doesn't got one drop of gold. They haven't even got a coin. And what have they got in Fort Knox? I don't know what's in there. It's probably dusty, whatever it is. It's probably got cobwebs all over it. Anyway, but the Chinese, they're taking this gold and they're shipping it over there as fast as they can. They got their smelters running, making these 1 kilo size bars, and they're stacking them and stacking them and stacking them and stacking them. Stacks as high as they're going with gold for the new financial system. The West, they're going to wing it with their old dollars. Anyway, moving on. Live charts, a silver chart today. So we're going to take a look at the markets now and see what's going on. 27.21 for silver. I think silver and gold's taking a little breather right now too, just for a little while. This is indicative, though. This move upwards in the gold price and silver price is indicative of what's going on. See China here. They're grabbing gold by the throat. And they're worried about capital flight, see? And so we see it. This is moving in. It's moving in. It says China and India have typically vied over the title of the world's biggest buyers. That shifted last year as Chinese consumption of jewelry, bars, and coins swelled to record levels. China's gold demand rose 10%, while India's fell 6%. China's bar and coin investment, meanwhile, surged to 28%. China is consuming more bullion. Unrelenting Chinese demand. Retail shoppers, fund investors, futures traders, and even the central bank look to bullion as a store of value in uncertain times. We should be doing the same thing. In this financial thing that's going on for world domination of the financial system, you're going to find that unbacked fiat paper currencies in the end are going to lose. And real money, which is gold and silver, is going to win in the end. This should be as plain as a nose on your face. And I'm going to tell you something else that I don't talk about very much on this channel. It should be as plain as a nose on your face what's going to happen with the Fed right now. They're going to remain tight until they can. And they might even get tighter. And they're walking the tightrope line right now. They brought the by their metrics. I'm going to go by the numbers of their metrics. They've brought the inflation down 3/4 of the way from where it was when they started tightening there. It's actually, I'm amazed that they didn't crash the economy entirely. This landing, I'm amazed that they were able to get any sort of a landing whatsoever other than a crash and burn, but they've achieved somewhat of a landing. And the economy's not dead right now after all this tightening. It's not dead. The economy's not dead. It's still running. And they've damaged it. They've hurt it a lot. They've taken it down a lot. But now they've got it to the point where if they keep going, they're going to damage it, and it is going to have some sort of a crash or some sort of a problem that appears suddenly. And this should be as plain as a nose on your face when that happens, when they actually do finally create or get close to creating deflation, that they're going to reverse and they're going to turn gears and go in the opposite direction at that point. That should be as plain as a nose on your face for everyone out there. And so every day that passes now, we're approaching that point where the Fed really is going to shift gears and go into more easy money again. They're going to go back to it. They have to in the end. So that's just going to accelerate everything even more so. So we're seeing a gold rally when it's this tight. Imagine what the gold rally will look like when they have to finally let the gears open up the gate again, let the water, the liquidity flow. Wow. So going back to the silver price today, $27.22. It's still on sale, as far as I'm concerned. As far as I'm concerned, it's on sale until it crosses that Rubicon of maybe $40. As we get up to like $42 an ounce, then it starts to it's not on sale as much as it used to be. It's still probably going to be a bargain because it's probably going to double in price from there. 40 will go to 80, so it'll still be a bargain. But, I mean, where's it going to finally settle back down again? Well, you're never going to see these kind of prices again. When it finally takes off and goes up, and it really has its rally, you're never going to see 27.20 again. You're never going to see a 2 in front of it again, unless it's 200. I mean, that's it. 23.27 for gold today. It's up $5.80. Cryptocurrency today, we're looking at Bitcoin price of 64,530. Ethereum is at 31.69, and XRP is at 52.8 cents. So they, back around 2009 when they invented Bitcoin, or a little bit before that period in time, they already knew over here in the West. And how I know this is James Rickards said it. He said that he was working with them on these type of financial war games, and it had to do with Chinese using gold as a weapon, a financial weapon. So they already knew what China and Russia were doing way back when. Well, Bitcoin is a representation of gold. So what's the West's big plan was if they couldn't have the real gold, and China and Russia is going to have all the real gold, they're going to have fake gold, Bitcoin. Paper gold. It's fool's gold. It's not the real thing. But it only exists online. But it does mock gold in a certain way, that it's mined out of the ground, just like gold. It's mined out of the internet, though. The mining operations cost money, just like gold, and there's miners that have to mine it, just like gold, and it's a depleting resource. It's set up that way, and during the halving, every 4 years, there's only half as much of it. This makes it deflationary currency, which is unusual. Most people aren't used to a deflationary currency because all the other currencies operate on inflation. They're all inflationary. And so how does a deflationary currency function? Well, there's less of it all the time. And this controls its value, means it's worth more all the time. How does inflationary currencies function? Well, they're always printing more of them and they're worth less all the time. Just exactly the opposite. So that's one of the reasons why it's hard for people to get their head around Bitcoin. It's not like the regular currencies. It's a savings instrument. The other currencies are used for commerce and trade, and they're always worth less, so you never hang on to them. It doesn't make for a good currency to have a deflationary currency like this because people won't spend it. If it's always going to be worth more, are you going to spend it? No. Currency needs to be spent for trade and stuff like that, for it to be a real functioning currency. And that's why Bitcoin's not, its function actually as a currency is, you don't spend Bitcoin at Walmart. People have it, save it. They don't spend it. But you spend dollars. Why do you spend dollars? Because the dollar's always going to be worth less. What's the point of actually holding it? And as it slides more and more, it's worth less and less, the more quickly people are going to spend it. And that's why it has to end in hyperinflation ultimately in the end. because that's the only place it can go. 121 points to the downside on the Dow today. You ain't seen nothing yet. We're going to go into a correction. If we cross 5% on the U.S. 10-year Treasury note, we're gonna see a correction in this right here. It's already, it's like, you see, we saw these highs, and now we see a little bounce down, and we're seeing it bounce along, and it's basically questioning. It's saying to themselves, it's saying to itself, the Dow is saying to itself, what's going on with those bonds? What's going on with that 10-year Treasury? It's getting awful high. It's getting awful high. Maybe I should just hold off a little bit here and wait and see what happens with that. You can always go back to the rally later, and we're going to wait. And that's what holding and waiting. It's waiting, and it's waiting to see what happens with these 10-year Treasury note. Taking a look at oil, it's down 37 cents today at 82.99. But now look at this U.S. Treasury right here. Here's the U.S. Treasury 10-year note. And yeah, she's climbing quite nicely today. 5.8 basis points today. And she stands at 4.65. So she's getting up close to that 5 mark. U.S. 30-year, 4.7. And this is why the Dow is not going anywhere. It's tentative right now. It's watching that U.S. 10-year Treasury. And we see it go over 5% and climb rather steeply on like 5.5, 5.10, 5.15, 5.20, 5.25, so on. See it going up past 5. And we're probably going to see the Dow go down. And all the other markets too. And that could, the Treasury itself, these Treasury yields, and the debt market here it's probably what we need to watch to see when the Fed's gone a little bit too far and overcooked what they're doing. And also to time when the Fed is going to relent on all this and say, uh-oh, we got to lower rates. And they can do that overnight. And they could start a new quantitative easing program, but not call it quantitative easing. Call it, well, it'll still be QE, but they just won't call it that. But that can all happen overnight when the Fed sees that they've went too far. And that's what's going to happen. And then when you're really going to see gold push up and stuff, because it's already wanting to. Just like the Dow right now, what we're watching in these markets is the Dow right now has reached its peak, its pinnacle, and it's eyeing the downward. It's looking down. You know? And it's all dependent on the bond market. Well, gold too. Gold is looking up. It's saying, I see where I'm going, up there. And the markets are looking down. They're saying, uh-oh, it's a long way down there, boys. Long way down. Okay, 105.88. 105.92 for the dollar. And so we see this cycle continuing. Dollar up. Bond yields up. Slowing up. It's tempering the market right now. For now. This process is probably going to continue, and it's probably going to continue, or probably going to, it's muting the gold rally, probably. We're taking a look at these bond yields climbing like this is probably muting the gold rally. The gold rally probably would have been a lot bigger. Thank you guys for listening to my show. Like and subscribe. Give me a thumbs up. You guys have a great afternoon. Bye-bye.